So here's the deal. Before this, I tried to record another video about the Wii with an HDMI in it, and I had the wrong revision. Didn't know I had the wrong revision. So I tore it all apart, half installed it before I realized I can't do it to this model. So I wanted to double check that I had the right Dreamcast model because the VA0 and the VA1 models are okay, that they work with this HDMI mod. However, I got this from Japan, which does not tell me VA anything on these stickers. It's a different sticker from the US one. So I'm gonna really hope that this one works because I have no way to tell. That being said, welcome to the video. We've got a new shell for it. It is a clear blue shell. Obviously, we are not going to be keeping this disgusting thing. I don't know who smoked this badly. This is just a PSA to stop smoking because it doesn't just ruin your lungs, it ruins your game consoles. That's what's more important here. But we are going to disassemble this, and thankfully this is all like just Phillips heads, I believe. And I think we can just start with disassembling it like that. We will have to take this apart for the new shell. I'm just gonna save that for later. And I'm gonna use my electric screwdriver here. So I apologize for the noise. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips heads to take care of right now. Can we fit the LTT screwdriver in there? Absolutely not. Can we fit my iFixit screwdriver in there? Like just barely. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's actually like perfectly long enough. That's crazy. And then we should be able to flip this over and just lift. Oh, the disc is still in there. Code Veronica, if you want code Veronica, that'll be included in this bundle. Which I guess, I don't think I'm going to be showing the second channel versions of these videos. So this was a part of the charity event. If you're watching it now, it's probably too late. But that was included. Okay. Do we have any VA nonsense going on in here? Do we have any way of knowing if this is VA1, 0, or 2? It's not looking like we're getting any answers. Fun. So I've done a video like this before where I've put the GDEMU in here, which I am now realizing, oh, it's probably in the box for my shell because I bought it together. So I'm not worried about that right now. But I've done this video before, and I'm just going to say, besides this fan here and these two screws that hold it in, all of these are going to be the same Phillips head bit. This is just a little smaller for the fan. And you're just going to want to take out every screw you see, which is all of these ones. If there are any hidden ones, I will get to them, but just remove them all. And I highly recommend organizing them in some sort of fashion, whether it be like via a muffin tin or what. I like having my guide over here, but I'm just going to go ahead and remove all these. You could also probably keep them in their holes like on this, since this whole assembly is going to come out. You just leave them dangling in there, but I'm going to leave them on the edge. Be very careful around the power supply, please. I don't want anybody to die on my watch. Just a good rule of thumb, don't touch the power supply on any of the metal spots. Now we can unplug some things. Like I'm going to unplug this cable without touching anything metal on this power supply. That is for the power button. I guess we didn't need to unplug that. Then I'm going to carefully, without pinching this, I'm going to try and remove that ribbon cable. If you want to, you can remove it from either side or both sides. It does not matter. I'm actually going to plug it back into this side. Just unplugging it from the main board seems like it's going to be the easier way to go. And then I'm going to unplug the fan like that. Get the fan out of there. Then you kind of have to pull the controller ports out of the holes in the plastic, and then you can lift up on that and take that out of the way. I'm going to get these screws out of there so I can put them down over here. And I guess we can't remove this quite yet. Now for the power supply, I'm going to put my thumb up against here and my finger up against the actual power port. And then I'm going to take my thumb and pull this clip back and lift up by these two sides. It's gonna be a little bit stuck over here because these pins are going through this connector. So we just gotta lift, wiggle it a little bit, maybe go back and forth. There we go, and it'll eventually pop up. We can carefully, without touching any of those components, set it down off to the side. Then we can remove the plastic and the power switch, and then we should be able to lift this up now, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, and this does not work, so I can just yeet this if I want to, but I'm not going to because I think it can be fixed. I don't know for sure. Either way, we're not going to need it because we got a GDEMU that we're going to install. But for now, let's just focus on tearing the rest of this down. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black Phillips screws and 2 more golden ones that we got to remove. Then we should be able to lift up on this and just take the whole motherboard out. And it's that simple. We are going to need to remove the shielding here too. But now we have our Dreamcast fully disassembled. And wow, that's a lot easier than disassembling a Wii. I'm gonna put the motherboard off to the side and I will disassemble this real quick. We just have these 2 Phillips screws right there. I'm gonna put those over here because that way they're separated. I don't get them mixed up. And this one, I remember being pretty tricky to reinstall. So that's why it's being a little annoying to take apart. I don't really see what it's getting caught on, but I just wiggled it out and we're good. I know that these like metal pieces are annoying, so putting them back in will be annoying. Let's get out the new shell. We have a little black bag, and I'm assuming this is our Dreamcast logo in here. Yeah, oh, we got 2. Interesting. We got the blue logo and the orange logo, and they're clear. We'll just set those off to the side for now. Then we can get the shell out of the bag. We can lift up the top half. We won't need that for a while. I was really kind of hoping that this would be assembled since I bought it with the shell, but that's all right, I guess. We have our GDEMU right here. It just drops right into the freaking disk drive slot. It's awesome, but we do have to assemble it a little bit. We've got our, I think, a reset button. Blue standoff just flew out at me. Also got quite a few different screws that are just falling out. Nice. And I will throw these over in there because we'll deal with that later. We got an included 8 GB SD card. No way. Just one blue standoff though? That doesn't quite make sense. But we'll just throw all of this off to the side for now because I am not going to install it quite yet. With all of these pieces, it'll eventually be a really nice and easy way of swapping out your SD card with all of your games in it. Like you literally just plop your SD card in there, and this will be the thing that's exposed when you have the lid open. It's cool. I love it. I just don't use my Dreamcast enough. Anyways, we'll deal with all that later. I'm gonna throw all the extra little pieces off to the side, and I want to knock this out real quick. Just because I remember it being a pain in the butt last time, so let's just do it right now. If I remember correctly, you kind of just have to shove the port in there and wiggle it about. There's like a secret to it. You kind of like separate the layers, get that first layer under the screw post, and then try and shove it all down. And then you can wiggle the Ethernet port into place. Yeah. Yep. No freaking way I got it that fast. I remember this took me like 30 minutes last time. Nice. Hopefully you got that from my demonstration there. But after we get those 2 screwed down, we're good to go with this. I'm going to put this off to the side to plug it in at the very end. But I can't believe I figured that out when I haven't touched this in like 2 years. There is a guide in here. We will need to remove parts of the metal of the shielding and snip some screw posts, it looks like. So let's start with that. I'm also going to open this up just to see that we have everything. Nice little foam piece. We've got our screws and our 3D printed drill guide. We've got a mini HDMI thing. We've got our board in here. And is that it? Nope, I didn't think so. Another piece of foam. And we've got the double-sided tape hidden in there. And we've got our ribbon cable with, I'm assuming this is a Wi-Fi antenna. Maybe this has updates via the Wi-Fi. Interesting for an AliExpress company. Are they actually going to put updates to this thing? I don't know. Probably not is my guess, but you never know. So the first thing they want us to do, which is very nice that they have like a fully printed instruction manual. We need to take looks like it's the top shielding. So this piece here, I guess we can separate the layers. I will put the motherboard off to the side. Oh, it does. Okay. Whew. It says VA1 right here. I think I just got lucky. So let's see. There's no caution sticker, so I'm going to have to find out the orientation here. Looks like this piece here we need to cut out. My flush cutter is going to be able to cut through the metal. Guess we'll find out. Yep. Takes a lot more force than normal. It doesn't show if I need to take out like the bend up here or not. I'm going to assume that we do. So I'm just going to bend that up and then try and snip it here. I'm snipping it off to the side because I don't want it to like slam into me. Maybe I'll just do the bending trick. There we go. One metal piece down. That's it for this piece. I think this is much thinner metal, so should be able to get that no problem. We're going to trying to figure out the orientation here. We're going to take this out, these two screw posts here, and then this whole thing out. Really? Okay. So we'll do it right there, and that should easily snip. Sweet. And then this should fairly easily snip. I'll flatten it out, or I'll just do the bending technique again, because this doesn't want to snip. Okay. Sort of flattened out there. And then we need to take this whole section out. For the record, if you just want to do the GDEMU, you don't have to do any of this. The GDEMU is drag and drop, and if you're reusing your shell, you don't even have to take it apart very far. At least you don't have to completely disassemble it. There we go. That one came off fairly smoothly, but gotta rebend it so it's at least flat because this is the bottom one. So this should fit right back in there. Cool. Oh yeah, we gotta take this screw post out. Now we should be able to get the drill bit out, which I do have a drill bit over here. I've got my guide set up here. Right here, I actually have a slightly bigger drill bit than they ask for. They say a 3/64th drill bit. I have a 1/16th and a 3/32nd, and I decided to go with the slightly bigger one just because it'll probably take more out, make this go a little faster. So I'm going to carefully hold this into place and then drill 3 holes here. And then I believe we're just going to swap it around, drill 2 holes, and then it should make it fairly easy to just file out the rest of the hole. This is really cool, but just don't have your fingers on the other side where the holes go. So if you hold it like this, you'll have enough pressure just on the top. You won't need to put your fingers underneath it. I am putting my finger on the bottom, on the very edge, nowhere near the drill bit. And then we're just going to go real slow. And I guess my drill bit is going to get stuck. I don't know why it's not coming out. Maybe I should be using a smaller bit, but I'm not gonna. Same thing. Fingers way away from the drill. This is starting to get annoying. I'm going to try it with the smaller bit. Just so I hopefully don't have to do that untwisting thing again. Okay, same thing. Cool. Much easier to pull out this time. But it is definitely a smaller hole. Yeah, the bigger holes I feel would do a better job. So I'm going to do that again. Then I think I'm just going to take the flush cutter here, smush through that, take the drill, and I'll just go along this real quick. Now we can take the file and just smooth it all out. I'm sure if you have like a craft knife or something, that should work just fine too. But I'm just going to use the file that I've got. Then we can take our PCB, wherever that went. Oh, it's in here. I didn't actually get it out of the package. And then we can put it up to this and see that it is definitely not big enough. The hole is not wide enough on the sides. I think the top and bottom are fine, but we're gonna need to widen left and right. I suck at doing this, so my apologies if my lineup is not the best, but it's nearly there. I think I do need to make it wider all around. So I'm just gonna do that real quick. Finally, it goes in the hole. I'm gonna clean up all this dust. I think we're done with the trimming. Really? Okay. So we have to place this into the shell, fine. And then stick this into its slot and then drill holes into these spots here. It says 2. I'm guessing I was supposed to take more of this off. Okay, I guess I need to take more of the shielding off. Great. Now, should be able to line this up. So now we can drill a hole into the metal. Okay. I just made marks with those 2 because I don't know if I actually want to go through the shell as well. So I'm going to drill the rest of this over here. Nice. I just put 2 holes in my table doing that. It's about time for me to replace this table anyways. Now we should be able to put screws through these holes. Cool. And then I'm going to hold on to these screws as I place this down and then just slot the HDMI in there. I may be doing this completely backwards if I'm being honest, but it's really hard to tell with this picture. Plus, with the double-sided tape, I don't know how necessary it is to do any of this. I'm going to stick this down on the back of this because they don't tell you to do that in the instructions. This is to prevent any shorting, hopefully. Poke through all those screw holes so we can get the screws we need to through their holes. I don't remember which ones we're actually using and which ones we're not, so just poking them all. Then we're going to stick the HDMI in there, stick the screws down, and we can put these nuts over the top and we can screw it down. Okay, now we can put this off to the side because I believe we're going to be doing the soldering finally. Search for resistors 610 and 609 on the motherboard, which are going to be 610 and 609. These 2 right here. And we are going to remove them completely from the board. So we can finally get our soldering irons out. Because if you thought this was going to be a solderless mod, you are sorely mistaken. And I say sorely because there's a lot of soldering to do. So what I'm going to do, heat up my soldering iron. I'm going to do about 330. Then I'm just going to put flux over the top of both of those. I'm going to get a bit of solder on my tip, then just put some on the top, trying to hit both sides of the resistor. That way it just sticks to my soldering iron and I can easily lift it up. And then I'm going to clean my soldering iron because I don't think we're removing any more. Be careful not to accidentally remove anything else. Now we can get out our flex cable and we are going to be lining it up like this, it looks like. This might be a little hard to tell here, but you are going to want it to be lined up like this. The first 2 pins over here, I believe number 1 and 2, as indicated by the 0, 1 in this corner, those are not soldered on. And the last 3 at the bottom are not soldered on either. Correction, that's 81 and 82. And number 100, 99, and 98 are not soldered on. And then this is going to perfectly line up with this whole side of this chip and from this corner up until it ends on this side of the chip. And then we've got a couple other solder points along the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the spots on the board that we're going to solder to besides the ones with the chips, which is going to be this resistor over here, this point right here, this point right here, this capacitor in this spot where there would be a capacitor, this part of the capacitor, and I think that's it. We're going to take those and we're going to tin those pads so it makes it a little easier for us to solder to once we have the this thing down. So to mark these, I'm going to put a little flux down on each of those spots. So I'm going to heat up my iron once again, grab my solder, and we're just going to place little bits of solder on each of those points. Be careful not to remove that resistor when you add some solder to it. Sorry, capacitor. Did I say resistor? Same thing with this resistor over here. Do not lift it up. And I believe that is all of those pads. So I'm going to try and line this up as best I can. This is going to be very hard to do, but I'm going to take 2 of the farthest points away from each other to solder down first. Make sure they're lined up with the pins on those chips and solder those down. I apologize. I'm probably going to have to block the camera a little bit here. I'll try and choose the best angle to show this off or just show you what I did at the end. Got a bit of a short here between these 2 capacitors, so I'm going to fix that as well as just move it over very, very slightly because it's off on this right side. Cool. Then I'm just soldering down the rest of these points, trying to connect them. And I believe that's all of these small points soldered. This is as far as I can zoom in. I apologize. It's not quite small enough that I need the microscope, so I'm not going to bother whipping that out. So the rest of this is going to require some micro soldering on the chips, but I can do that with just my eyeballs, and I will get some macro shots of all of this to show at the end here. But I'm going to walk you through how I do my micro soldering. I am going to take this up to 330. I may have said that earlier. I'm going to clean my iron, make sure it's very clean. And then I'm going to lay a bunch of flux down across all of the pins we're going to solder to. I'm going to add the tiniest bit of solder to my tip. That's probably too much. So we'll start over with the biggest section of pins to solder to. And we're just going to tack it down and drag back and forth. We've got some bridging there. That's okay. I put too much solder on. So I'm going to go over to this chip, do the same thing, add a bit, and then do it over here and add a bit. Then to clean it up a bit, I like to hold and then drag towards me. Just do like that. And then the same direction, even though it's not towards me this time. And then I'm going to clean my iron because we've got plenty of solder. At least it looks like we have plenty of solder. And so my goal now is to just spread it out as evenly as possible, hopefully removing all of those shorts. And then again, doing that same direction away from the chip, I guess is a better way to describe it. And now I'm going to look to see if I did it all. And the way I like to check is, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I feel like a lot of the iPhones nowadays, or at least a lot of phone cameras, have a macro lens. So I like to get up close and personal, take a macro shot, zoom in, and it looks like everything is clean and not bridging. Can't quite tell if everything's fully connected, but nothing looks like it's bridging, and that is the most important part, in my opinion. So I'm going to continue on. We're going to test this before we fully close it up, but we've got a little bit more soldering to do, and that is on the back here. We're going to be looking for the R601. That's a resistor, so it'll be black. It says just R601, but then it says solder a wire onto each, so I'm going to guess we're soldering to both of those, and it's going to be next to this. So over here, orient it like so. You see this chip here, it's got sharp on it, and it's going to be R601 and R602. And then there's another one that we'll have to find in a bit. I need to get some wire out because they don't include one. Weird. Normally kits like these include the necessary wires too. So I'll get some wire. I have no idea how long these wires need to be, so I'm going to make them real long. I'm going to add a little bit of flux to R601 and R602 on these ends, not both sides. Get that a little more in frame there. Red is going to go to R601 and green is going to go to R602. It's not necessary to color code them, but just to make it easier for sake of instruction, that's what I'm doing. Adding a little bit of solder to both of those sides. Red to 1 and green to 2. Then we got to find the I206 above the IC206, which is this point right here, which is not labeled. This point right there, the one right above the arrow or right below the arrow. I guess depends on where you're looking at it. Might be a little easier to solder this one first. But that's why you watch the tutorial in full before you follow along. That way you know if I do any little mess ups, then you can do it better than I did. Then we can take those wires and solder them to the board. So I'm going to turn this off for a second. That way we can flip her over. I'm not exactly sure where I want to route these cables. Oh, it's going to go. Oh, okay, I see. Not onto the ribbon cable. But I guess we can bring this back out. And I think for the sake of slack, if I ever need to open this back up, I'm just going to leave them as their long selves. And let's find the points on the board that we need to solder to. They're over here. We're soldering R601 to P1. So my red wire is going to go to this first one, P1. I'm also going to put some flux down. There's 4 points here and 3 wires. So I'm just going to put flux across all of them. There's P1, P2 is R602. So that's our green one. And I just desoldered the red one. And then RST is that last one that we soldered, which is the top one. The middle one you leave blank, apparently. And I think we're actually done with soldering for now, or for the rest of it, assuming we did the soldering correctly. The instruction booklet does not tell you to plug this ribbon cable into this board. So that's what we'll do. I'm assuming since it's like this. We need to fold it over, plug it in this way. So I'm going to lift this bail. I'm going to slot this ribbon cable in as best as I can. Then lock that down. That looks crooked, so we're going to try that again. Lock that down. Can't quite tell. Okay, plug it in right here. Maybe. I hate these stupid plugs so much. I can never get them in. They suck. Stop using them. I would genuinely rather just solder this wire. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to peel this back for the double-sided tape, and I don't know how to route this. Well, I'll go this way, and then we'll tape it down here along where the Ethernet port would go. Make sure it's not along any of those screw posts. Then we can put this guy back down. Make sure all of those wires are out of any other screw post way. And then I'm just gonna try and get the motherboard back down into position here. And I'm gonna do like a very light crease here, just so we don't have too much pressure on any of these solder points. I don't want any tearing to occur. So I'm gonna do a little bit of folding magic, but don't actually crease these ribbon cables. That looks a little better. Okay, all we need to do from here is just plug this in to the HDMI and plug this into the power to see if it shows up on the screen. I don't think we need the disk drive in. I don't think we need the controller ports in. I think we just need to plug the power supply in. Okay, maybe we do need to do a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put this top shielding on. Probably not going to put any screws into place at this very moment. I'm fairly confident in my soldering, but just got to be sure sometimes, you know. We're going to put that down. We're going to put this over that. Then we're going to, again, very carefully grab the edges of this power supply. We're going to press it down without touching any of those components. Then we're going to take our power switch and plug that in. And we don't need to like perfectly place it, because obviously we should put the wire down first before anything, but we're just trying to test it for now. I'm going to plug this in. Again, we're just plugging things in enough to test them. So I can also plug this in. And I don't know if the firmware is on here or not. I would assume that the included SD card is going to have everything we need to just get up and go. And then we can plug the fan in. I guess probably not necessary to plug in, but just in case it's like no fan detected and it doesn't turn on, I'm just going to plug it in. I think that's everything. I'm going to go plug this in now and see if it works. So something's not working. Not sure what, but I'm going to assume that it's nothing on the back side, but everything to do with stuff on the front side or top side. What you're watching now is the footage of me getting the microscope out and just searching around to see if I'm missing something, because I thought for sure my soldering was perfect. Turns out there was for sure a short on this component over here. And then I think there was one over on this component, but it's hard to tell. I cleaned both of those up and boom, showed up on the TV. But we do need to put this together, and I don't really know how to do that. But we're going to try and figure that out together here. There are no instructions for it as far as I'm aware. No, I don't see any instructions on the ground. And this is quite a bit different from what I remember from last time. There was like a different, bigger bracket last time. But I do know we slot this in here. We slot this in this way? No. We slot it in PCB side towards this area. We can get these two small screws with the fatter heads, and then we can screw that down. Just doing the first one a little bit so I can get the second one on there. And I'll fully screw those down in a second. That's nice and locked in there. Great. Now we can take this, and since it's going to rest in here like this, and we need this to be plugged into here, I'm going to assume that we can line this board up with those screw holes. And before we screw it down, we are going to want to insert our SD card extender here into its position. I'm not exactly sure how they want us to loop this ribbon cable around. Maybe down in there. That seems to be the best, like that. It is a little offset, so hopefully that doesn't warp anything. And then we've got 3 screws here and a long screw. I'm gonna put the shorter 3 screws in. This seems like it's gonna be a little bit tough. There we go, there's 1 and there's 2. And our Dreamcast button works. So I'm assuming everything is going as planned. Then I'm going to plug it in here. Future Jake here, put this plastic piece in now, because otherwise you're gonna have a hard time like I just did trying to shove it in there at this stage in the game. But before we put this down, as I just did, we're gonna screw the screws that we need to down in here, because that one's gonna get covered up, and I think that's actually the only one that's gonna get covered up. And I'm bringing back out my automatic screwdriver because this has been taking way too freaking long. Hopefully I don't hurt any of my wires here. And if you remember, these 5 here are the black screws. And then I believe got rid of a screw post right there. I don't remember there being a screw there though, honestly. And then one of these was a golden one over here. I'm not sure if that was a black one or not. We're just gonna go with that. Now we can put our GD-EMU in. We can slide our screw post in there. We can take our really long screw, put it through there. Then we can screw that down. Then we can take our last little screw, screw that down. I have no idea what these 2 long screws in this bag are for, because this is nice and secure as it is. So I don't know. From here, we can just do the rest of these. I'm gonna take the power supply, again, very carefully, replace it. This time, we're gonna take the power switch out first. We're gonna lay that down in its spot, and then we can screw it down. And we wanna do that because we wanna put the plastic piece, do not forget the plastic piece, over the top of it, and that slots into the plastic over here, as well as into this like plastic piece here. And then without touching any of the solder points, we can slot the power supply back in. The power switch cable is going to stick out on that side, and then we can just plug it back in. Whoa. I'm going to take the gold ones and put them in. Again, very carefully. Do not touch any metal on the power supply. Then we're good. We can take our controller ports and make sure you grab the actual plastic piece for it. Line that up. We can slot all of this in. We might have to actually put the plastic in first. You're actually gonna need to slip the plastic piece underneath the metal. It's gonna be a little tricky. Then once we get it in there, pro tip, put the plastic piece in before you screw it down. Like before you screw the shielding down. Let's see if I can do this without having to take it all apart again, but I think it's gonna be impossible. Yeah, because I can lift it up. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, okay. You'll want to put this plastic piece in before you put the top metal shielding down. Why? If you're like me and you spaced that because I didn't properly edit this video, lift these 2 screws up a little bit, and then you can use some tweezers or something to hold up this end and just jam it in there. The 2 holes in this plastic piece should go through the 2 plastic posts down there, and you have to get underneath all parts of this metal shielding. But I recommend just putting that in first. Okay, now we can take the controller port board and slot this into the holes for the controller ports, and then it'll go in nice and easy. Crazy what happens when you do it properly. Then we can orient the fan like this and slot that into position. Make sure the wires are out of the way, make it a little easier. And we can do these little 2 screws for the fan first. And then I will screw in these 4 longer gold screws for the controller port. And then I'm gonna plug this ribbon cable in its spot. Probably would have been easier to do that before I screwed it down, but not too difficult to do now though. And I think we're actually about done. It's crazy for me to say. It looks like I don't see any empty screw posts anywhere. I know we lost a few along the way, RIP, but we can put the top on. And I'm trying to remember where I put the screws for the top of this. It's probably not necessary, but I'm gonna open the lid because that's what I do on GameCubes. Always open the lid when you put the GameCube's top on, and everything, in theory, should just line up. Seems like we're having a little trouble around the power port. There we go. Don't just jam it in there. Close it up there, flip it over. And is it the black screws? Were those the corner ones? I think so, because there's 4 of those left. I don't remember. Shouldn't be an issue, honestly. And last one. I think I can only get it in there so far before I have to swap over to my iFixit bit to finish the job, which really sucks because this is really hard to put it into the plastic for the first time, especially with this dinky little thing, but we did it. Hold up. Now it is complete. Oh, man. This isn't as bad as the Wii, but no, I will not be selling these on my website. I'm going to go with the blue, and you can forever have my fingerprint enshrined on there. Wow, that actually looks terrible. I don't like that. Like, it's just the sticker itself. It looks bad. It looks like I forgot to peel something, but I didn't. I got both the peels right here, and it is now stuck on there. So whoever makes the shell, think about not making it a clear sticker. Put a white background there so we don't have to see poorly adhesed part. Adhesed? Is that a word? I don't know. I'm going to throw it to future me where I'm showing off the software side of things. Okay, before we go into gameplay, there are a couple things I'm going to add. I'm going to swap the battery mod. I wasn't originally going to do it, but then I realized, oh, it's dead. Probably because it's a 20-year-old console. But if I can pop this stupid thing off, I'm going to quickly disassemble it, quickly install it, and hopefully be a guide for future people, because the kit that I bought off of AliExpress for this gave 0 instructions. I'm going off of another eBay listing of this exact kit. Their pictures of it fully installed. So that'll be fun. Plus, I forgot to install this. I think I mentioned it in the edit. So I'm going to quickly install that as well. And I'm not even going to bother showing you how to disassemble it since we've already kind of done that. And this video is long enough as it is. So I believe we just need to take these 4 out, put this all off to the side for a second, because all we really need to work with is this. I'm going to remember that this is pins that way. That's actually kind of easy to see because you see the pins. But we're going to need to remove this battery here, this resistor here, this capacitor here, and this fuse. Okay, so this is a fuse. And then we've got the LED. See, it's confusing because one of these is a fuse and one of these is a resistor. This one is obviously the capacitor, but we've got this and we've got this. Now, a fuse doesn't matter which way it's oriented, but the capacitor or the resistor, actually, I don't think that matters too much either. I think it does, actually. Maybe. I don't know. You may be thinking, wow, you don't know what you're talking about. Why am I listening to you? I don't know. I'm going to find the right way to do it. I just might do it the wrong way the first time. I'm going to put flux on this battery thing here. Now, this is nice because with the 3 tabs, we know which way it needs to be oriented. This is still going to be kind of annoying to remove, but I'm going to get my tweezers underneath this and then just desolder. Just go around point to point until it falls out like that. There we go. Then I'm going to remove the solder on all 3 of those points. Slot this in. Only goes in one way, like I said, thanks to those 3 prongs. Not exactly sure why there are 3 prongs for a battery that only has 2 sides, but I'm thankful for it. And we're just going to put some new solder in. Easy as that. Big old plus for the positive side and a minus for the negative side. You better not mess that part up because it is the easiest part of this entire mod. So next we've got the capacitor. That seems the easiest to do because both of these capacitors have a gray side. Gray side, which is the white side on the board that's underneath our capacitor, match the gray side with the white on the board, or just put it in the same way as this one. Pretty simple stuff. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put some flux down. I'm going to stick my tweezers underneath. I'm going to heat up both sides until it is out. And one of those is already got the solder removed. So we'll just do it to this side. Simple enough. And I like to bend the lines over like that, so when it's upside down, it doesn't fall out. We're just going to do the same thing. Add some solder to both those points. I don't know why there's a hole in the middle, There are only 2 points we need to solder to. We can snip those off at the end, or you can snip them off now if you want to. Now, let's do the resistor. I'm going to look at this picture again. I'll show you the picture that I'm talking about. Obviously, we can see the resistor here, and we've got the similar looking resistor with the green and the 2 black lines in the middle. The green side is down towards the board, and oddly enough, they have it on the other side compared to this one. So we're just going to match the picture exactly. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a grip on the resistor. I'm not even going to use flux this time. I should be though, probably. And rip her out. Yeah, definitely easier with flux. So I'm going to clean my iron. Going to desolder both of these. There's flux in my wick, so it's fine. And then once again, the green side down into it. Then we can fold the other side around like so. I'm going to leave it a little bit above the board, like in the picture, because why not? Now my finger is covered in flux. Awesome. And then we can go boom, boom. Once again, we can trim those long ends off later. And then here is our fuse. Now, looking back at the picture, 1, I don't think that the fuse position matters, but 2, looking back at the picture, it's kind of hard to tell which side's up and which side's not. To me, since I think that the gold is less reflective, I think the orange is going down. So from this angle, I'd say orange going down is in pretty much identical to what mine is at right now. So I'm going to remove my fuse, same way I've been doing it the whole time. I'm going to put flux down first, make it easier this time. Orange side down, I'm going to stick it in here. Then I'm going to loop the other side into the other hole. Kind of hard to see because my shadow, but like this, and pull it through, let it hang just slightly, and then push some solder in, and we should be done. Just trimming off all these long pieces that we don't need anymore, and boom. As long as nothing is bridging, we can go ahead and slot our batteries in. This is how I installed it. And obviously, if I was incorrect, I would not be showing you this right now, or I'd be making some other sort of adjustment. It is good to go. You can, it also comes with LEDs to change the LED color. I don't really care. You'd be removing this LED, and that would be these 2 points in the very middle. So if you want to change the LED, you can. I like a little bit of contrast, so I'm not bothering with it. Slot this into the controller port part of the shell as you're putting it down. You can take our pin side towards us, plug that into here, and then plug the other end into the console motherboard. Make sure it's all the way in there. Don't force it too hard though. And then we can put our screws back in and button this all up. Don't forget your fan, which also only goes in one way. I'm not bothering with the fan mod, I'm sorry. Okay, so apparently the whole time I thought this was a rechargeable battery mod. It's not. It's just a non-rechargeable battery mod. And this is a 2032 holder. And I have a bunch of 2032 batteries. So yeah, we're good. So I should be able to just button this up and go test it. So I guess we'll put this back together. Slap this on there. And I guess I will just go see you to test out the battery, set the time, test out the mod, play a game, and maybe update the HDMI mod. And here we are. I'm changing the date to the correct one, which is now 2025. Not my birthday, but it's the 13th. And we actually have quite a few options with this HDMI mod. But first, I want to turn this off and turn it back on to see if the date saves. And I'm assuming it did because it didn't ask us for anything else. So it went straight to the GDEMU, which is great. That's what we want. We can go into the menu and options. This is the GDEMU options. I have region free on. This is just the SD card that they gave me. Sega, look at me. I'm not doing any piracy. This was included from the people who make this mod. Don't yell at me. I'm going to leave all the settings there, system info. Now, if we want to access the HDMI menu, we are going to do left trigger, right trigger, XA start. So, yep, okay. This is a ripoff of another HDMI mod. Cool. But anyways, man, this is annoying because I'm like controlling the menu, but also controlling the menu. I'm controlling both menus at the same time is what I'm trying to say. 1080p, leaving it there. None of this makes any sense to me. Scan lines I don't care about, but I'll show it for funsies there. Oops. Video mode settings, force VGA, cable detect, switch trick VGA. I don't know what any of that means. Firmware. I have to go into Wi-Fi setup. This test and info thing, I don't really understand, but it looks good to me. And then we can go to Wi-Fi setup. I'm gonna add my Wi-Fi settings. Oh boy, this is brutal. Okay, well, you have to scroll up and down on the D-pad to go through all of the characters and stuff. I will see you in like literally 20 minutes when I'm done typing in my SSID and password. Firmware's up to date. Isn't that cool? It's just erroring, so I'm not sure. I'm trying my other Wi-Fi to see if that makes a difference. I don't think it will. Okay, I'm giving up on trying to update this stupid thing. I'm pretty sure there's an update, but at the same time, this is a knockoff, a literal ripoff of the DC Digital, which isn't sold anymore because it's now Retro Gem. I just wanted to see if I could update this and if that would fix this yellow thing that we've got going on here, because this is what the color is supposed to look like. It doesn't look that bad once you're in game, but I'm sure you could tell how yellow the Sega screen was in the boot intro. But then here, the Sega screen looks great in Crazy Taxi 2. This looks not super yellow. That looks super yellow. I don't know what's going on there. I've never really played Crazy Taxi 2, so this is interesting. But we're gonna play this, and you can look around to see how crisp it is. Wow, that looks really yellow. I don't know if it's supposed to be that yellow, but it sure does look crisp. It's very responsive, 0 delay, which is great. Crashed into this other taxi, and it actually got me there beautifully. But now this taxi's in my way. Come on, old lady. Oh, use this as a jump. No points for that, apparently. Get out of my way, other taxi. Using the crash as a boost. Nice. Oh, that's not a boost. Oh my gosh, get out of my way, people. Just because this is a one-way street. Let's get on the sidewalk. Did we never get Crazy Taxi 2 on the GameCube? That was definitely not in the circle, but I'll take it. Oh, I'm supposed to turn there. Wow, that worked out way too well. Thank you. A blue marker? Oh my goodness. You guys are all dressed the same and you want to go to 3 different places? Oh my gosh. Well, I can't quite cut through that wall. I tried. Oh my, I was not expecting that. That was a bit of a jump scare. That's how that works. Yep. I don't think I'm going to get to the art museum. Dang. Okay, well, if you want to see the comparison between the AV, the cheaper HDMI, and the RetroTink 5X Pro, I will link the budget review and the budget tutorial at the end of the budget tutorial. I do like all the comparisons and see what I think is best. But yeah, I can't figure out how to update this, and it's really yellow, and it's a stolen design, so you should probably just do the Retro Gem, or honestly, just get a RetroTink, make your life easier. And thank you to whoever bought this in the charity event.